So as I was fiddling with several abandoned versions of Black and White 2, trying to get one of them to work well enough to showcase it to you, I was thinking to myself, why doesn't anyone make proper God Sim games anymore? And as if to answer my question, I got an email from the publisher of Fata Deum, informing me their new God Sim game is finally ready for an early access release on Steam on the 15th of September. And so, as if ordained by the gaming gods themselves, here is my full sponsored preview of what you can expect to be playing in Fata Deum, developed by 42 Bits Entertainment.
Be gone.
As with all great god games of the past, Fata Deum does indeed check a lot of boxes for the basic setup of this real-time strategy subgenre, but its early access version also leaves room for the addition of elements you might have on your mental checklist if you have played similar games before. During this preview video, I will outline both those haves and have-nots, so you can decide if you want to jump into this game right now or wait a bit longer. Obviously, it would not be a god simulation game if it didn't have, well, gods. And in Fata Deum, you start off with a clean slate and a fresh new god which just coalesced out there in the great cosmos under the watchful eyes of the three fates.
Welcome. You are a new force in all that is.
Born out of old forces who have been here age after age.
We have witnessed the birth and death of every being that has ever lived. We are the Fates.
We can see your potential unfolding with many possible futures.
And we will guide you, young deity.
This is Illis, a world waiting for your arrival.
It is in your power to alter the face of this world, and everything that lives on it, for better or for worse.
There is only one constant in the all that is. Change. And with it comes evanescence.
Look, these are this world's only inhabitants, who are able to overcome their instincts through conscious thought.
Like you, they need guidance. But unlike you, their time to learn is limited, because they are mortal.
You are destined to reveal yourself to them and make them your followers.
Which path you take is your choice alone.
But beware. There are other gods who share your ambition, and they have already chosen their path.
Each one can be an example for you, to strive after or to deter from.
These three fates look to be borrowed from Greek mythology and guide you to your god's first landfall among mortals, which you can convert into believers. But there are also other gods with whom you can battle for the minds and hearts of these subjects, or straight out annihilate them. But we will get to that part later in the preview. This leads us to the second basic requirement for a God Sim game, something to rule over. And in the same fashion as in the mentioned Black and White, here too you find yourself on a huge island with numerous smaller islands surrounding it, and a vast unexplored landscape covered in forests and dotted with human settlements, ruins, ancient relics, caves, crop fields, and different resources like stone, iron and gold. The tiny humans don't speak English but a form of Sims language, while your tutorial narrator, the trusted sidekick the Imp, does speak fluent English and takes you through the game's mechanics one at a time with a carefully constructed line of objective-based quests.
Taking her to the temple yourself. To grab a mortal, hover over it and hold the left mouse button. Press and hold the left mouse button again to let it go.
It is during these mini-quests that you discover and start to use the third integral element of a god simulation game: god powers and miracles. Powers spend mana, a resource I will explain later, while miracles are one-shot use. Some of these are categorized as good or bad, and the more you use them, the more your own god is shaped by them, along with the villagers and settlements who believe in your god. Naturally, you don't start as an all-powerful god with every miracle and ability unlocked, but gain new powers as you level up and solve quests.
As you are the main god of this settlement, you can now build a godlike. You have reached a new level.
To do so, you can influence the world around you both directly and indirectly. The fan-favorite Hand of God mechanic is present in Fata Deum, letting you grab or smash just about anything that has physical substance, meaning villagers, buildings, trees, crop fields, and deposits of stone, iron and gold. These last few require some chipping first, almost like god mining, which is a funny way of manually interacting with the world. The indirect way is through the dreams of your villagers, which you can influence during each night and give them free will, or direct their actions and choose what and where to construct. There are various other options for this indirect influence, and I will cover these a bit later. For the most part, I quickly got used to using my new Hand of God, but it can be literally touch and go in some cases, especially when I was trying to manually add more workers to a construction site and ended up letting go of a villager right off a cliff instead of on a construction site. The good thing is these villagers fall almost in slow motion, and you can even pause the game, so I was able to catch them before they fell to their doom. Of course, if you want, you can just let them fall or straight out sacrifice them, if that is the kind of god you enjoy being. Hey, no judgments here. In another example, I wasn't as lucky, because after following one of the requests from my believers about teaching their fellow villagers a lesson by smashing them with my godly fist, I inadvertently killed them. Because after my physical smash, which took about half their health, the villager in question fell down from a tower they were standing on and died from the fall. Such actions fortunately don't have playthrough ending potential, so mistakes like these should be looked at as learning opportunities for the player, but it does show that some aspects of the game need to be ironed out by the developers so future players feel like omnipotent gods and not bumbling buffoons. And speaking of elements that need to be added, I haven't seen any creatures which can be commanded or trained by gods, so this leaves room for a creature DLC or expansion. Where did I hear of something like that before? Anyway, another welcome element would be a sandbox mode, or even better, a map maker, so players could make challenges for each other on islands they themselves create. I would love to hear what ideas you can come up with in the comments below for future additional content. Now, if you are wondering how you compete with other gods in Fata Deum, you do so by taking over each other's followers who end up getting their lives improved, ruined or saved by godly powers. Sometimes other gods even heal your followers who you just sacrifice to summon a demon to use to attack settlements of those other gods. This way they gain a follower inside your settlement and start to erode your power base, because it is these followers of yours who go to their temples and pray that fills your mana pool. There are other ways of refilling mana pools, like finding and then exploiting or saving ancient relics, or dropping resources into an altar.
With every victory, I see new successes for you on the horizon.
These ancient relics can be found across the islands and can refill half or your entire mana pool depending on which option you choose when interacting with them. Do note that mana costs depend on the distance from your god's altar. This works as a balancing tool to prevent rushing your opponent's main settlement and trying to take over their followers at the start of a game. Taking over a settlement isn't just something you can notice in the UI, but also in the look and atmosphere of an entire settlement. Here you can see the abrupt change when a goddess of fertility becomes the main deity of this particular settlement after a successful military raid. And if the god of deceit is on the map, each settlement is all dark green, with fluorescent mushrooms growing instead of trees. These kinds of details are amazing, and I hope with more new gods, more such unique environments will be added to the game. And on the topic of warfare, you can build barracks in your settlements as well as guard towers, adding to the military strength of your settlement and the number of potential soldiers you can send to pillage other settlements, including your own ones. If sent to raid other settlements, your soldiers will fight the ones from the targeted settlement, and if victorious, enter its main building and take all the food, wood and other resources they can carry all the way to their home settlement. A fantastic tactic is taking over an enemy's secondary settlement which has a lot of soldiers with god powers and miracles, and then using them to raid your opponent's main settlement with soldiers who were its followers just a day ago. You can strengthen an army with a demon, but summoning one requires sacrificing 4 villagers. Again, what you can do is to sacrifice villagers who still believe in the other god, and not only remove them from the settlement in one motion, but also use their bodies and souls to summon a demon for your army. You just have to first place all of them together manually, as a demon summoning power works in a limited area. If you want a more peaceful way of expanding your domain, you can unlock the ability to establish a new settlement and then send villagers from an already growing village to a totally new predetermined empty village location. There they construct a new village center, and then you can add more buildings manually or let them have free will during the night and they will expand it on their own. Options like establishing a new village are only unlocked as your god levels up, and each time you can choose specific upgrades or unlocks from a dual list. These are skills for wonders and skills for manipulation. Each can be leveled up to make it cheaper or more powerful to use, and in doing so you end up customizing your god's powers and your whole playthrough each time. Since you can't unlock everything at once, this gives you a reason to play again using different strategies for winning. Prayers from your followers are another gameplay mechanic directly connected to god powers, because these followers can pray for you to do an action, keep growing your flock, smash someone's head in, or destroy their love life. The more such prayers you answer, and they have a time limit, the more you strengthen the belief in your god in the settlement from which you accepted the prayer from. When it comes to miracles, especially one-shot types, they sometimes allow you to do an action you might already be able to, just faster and more efficiently. For example, you can find unused fields of food or your enemy's crop fields and use your hand of God to collect that food and bring it to your own village. But there is also a miracle that will directly spawn food into a village center. There are other kinds of one-shot miracles, some of them not so benign, while others, like this one, seem not very useful, like growing a new forest on an island that has another 5,000 trees you could just rip out of the ground yourself. Others can boost villagers' stats like productivity or energy, and so feel much more useful. One element of the UI I have to mention in both negative and positive light is the right side UI, which holds 4 options for looking over the stats of the villagers visible on your screen. The green icon shows you the constitution of your villagers, yellow one their productivity, blue their energy level, and the red one their health. This does help you locate problems you want to fix, but it doesn't account for the differences in villagers' attitude towards you. When it comes to population control, just like you can inspire followers to work more efficiently, you can use a different kind of power to make them fall in love, increasing the chances they will have children. But do note, there are no children running around these villages, so you can't do good or bad things to them. I guess this is a way of avoiding having to deal with potential increases to the game's ESRB rating. The second way to control population across villages is to migrate villagers one at a time to other settlements. Once you level up and pick this manipulation skill, you can click on any villager who believes in you and order them to migrate to another settlement fully under your control and which you pick on the map. If you have too many mouths to feed in any settlement, all you have to do is send them off to less populated settlements and distribute your followers accordingly. In the top UI of any village, you can see how much food it spends per day and how much it produces on its local farms. So another way to manage the food situation in these individual settlements is to pick up villagers and manually add more of them to workplaces on farms. Since each farm has 4 workplaces and each workplace produces 10 food per day, you can sustain almost the entire village from just 1 or 2 farms. If you are overproducing food in one settlement, you can also use the dream manipulation during nighttime to order one settlement to send food to another. So while you wait for a new farm to be constructed in one, you can keep supplying it with food from another settlement. Now, if you want to speed up building construction, foundations for which are placed during the night phase of the game, you can do so manually by bringing needed resources to the construction site yourself. When you hover your mouse over a construction site, it shows you how many resources of each type are already there. Villagers will bring them from the village center, but you can do so with your Hand of God. Trees are found everywhere, so that is not difficult at all, and you can pick up many in your hand at once. When it comes to rocks, you have to locate a rock deposit, then use a Hand of God power to chip that deposit until pieces come off, which you can also pick up and carry to the construction site. In case you overdo it, you can take the excess resources and move them to a village center for future construction projects. Besides upgrades to your skills and powers from leveling up your god, you can also receive upgrades by completing challenges from the 3 fates.
I knew of that future path where you would triumph.
Congratulations.
Here we go again.
They will give you a choice of 3 different objectives to complete, and sometimes you can even choose one that you already qualify for. Each fate gives a different objective, and each reward is different.
Witnessing your ascension as a deity feels like a different kind of birth.
What is great is that they both reward you with a powerful statistical upgrade and a one-shot miracle. One more feature that is only partially implemented by developers of Fata Deum so far are mini quests and stories connected to unique places on the map. As you explore these islands, you can find interesting places, but for the most part your imp sidekick will make jokes on the developers for not yet implementing these stories and mini quests to those map locations.
What? I hear the lazy developers aren't ready yet. This will only be unlocked during early access.
A few actually work already in some way, but this is definitely not the final version of these. Overall, this early access release is almost a perfect example of what an early access release should look like. Low on story and level content, but filled with working game mechanics, fun to play and without errors or bugs which would prevent you from having that fun with it. Yes, there is a lot of work left ahead to make this a proper god simulation game that will be remembered for years to come, like Black and White or From Dust and the others, but the potential is clearly here. I am definitely going to keep my eye on Fata Deum and eagerly play its future updates as it nears full release. I hope you will share your own impressions after watching this preview and tell me what you like or dislike about it. At least you can help the devs by wishlisting the game if I have managed to pique your interest in it, so they have an easier time rising up above the mass of other early access releases on Steam. For more similar games, check out the cards on the screen. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all happy gaming.